Welcome back to the Travsessed podcast. We're your hosts, Kim and Aaron. We are healthcare travelers and the creators of Travsessed, and we are currently in Oaxaca, Mexico. Bless you. I didn't sneeze. It's actually the city in Mexico, the state in Mexico that we are hosting the Travsessed 2024 Inaugural Oaxaca trip. And we are so excited to get into that.
Also, that sounded nothing like a sneeze. Just FYI. Oaxaca?
Oaxaca.
Okay. Like a lewd bee.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, so we are currently in Oaxaca, Mexico. Mm-hmm. And our first traveler is actually on their way there. So the trip actually starts, at the time of recording this, the trip will start tomorrow. Like everybody will get here tomorrow, but our first traveler is coming in a day early. And her driver just picked her up from the airport and she's currently on the way. So we're like recording this. We have about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We got about 30 minutes.
We got to fly. So, but it's really cool because, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, it doesn't matter how many times we've hosted trips. I still always get so nervous. I've pooped 3 times today. Nice. And like, I'm excited, but like there's these nerves and this anticipation of just like, okay, like it's go time. Like here we go. And I just always get so nervous.
You know, it's funny. I don't get nervous about the trip because I know the itinerary is amazing. The guides that we use while on the trip are absolutely amazing. We met with them last night to kind of clear things up. But for some reason, when the trip starts, I get really nervous about, do I have everything prepared? And that's like my big nerves. Like, it's not that the trip is whatever. It's just like, am I prepared with like everything that we need to host a good trip? And I start to like feel overwhelmed with like, I have so much to do. But yesterday I felt so good.
Yeah, I think we get the opposite of nerves because like, I feel like we're prepared. We've gone over this trip so many times. Like we arrive early to every trip that we host to check in with our hosts, or not our hosts, like our guides, the people that we're working with.
Reservations.
To make sure everything is good to go. Like we make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, everything is good to go. We've done that. So I feel like everything is prepared and ready. We've confirmed everything over and over again. I just get nervous. So I'm not worried about being prepared. I get nervous about, it's not even nerves. It's just the anticipation of waiting for the people. Mm-hmm. And once everybody gets here, then it clicks and like we're off to the races. But it's just like the waiting period. It's kind of like when you do like public speaking. It's like, you know you're prepared, you know you're ready, but it's the anticipation of just getting on this stage and actually beginning the process, because once you start, you find your flow and it all clicks and you get comfortable. But it's those moments before you have to go on stage. It's like you're so nervous / excited.
But see, I don't get that way, right? Like I get that's funny you brought that up because I get nerves in the same way. That I feel like, am I prepared enough? Did I prepare enough? But then at the end, I'm always like, yeah, of course I did, mm-hmm. right? Like, but that's what what are the holes I'm missing?
Yeah.
But see, I tend to do that anyway in everyday life.
Naturally.
Even like in contracts, I'm like, what am I not prepared for that I should have been, right? Like,
I feel like I'm such an over preparer because I feel like there's 2 different types of people. It's funny because we were kind of talking to your mom about this on the way to the airport. Like, there's people who are super like book smart but don't have common sense. That's me. And there's people who aren't necessarily book smart, like they don't retain information, but they're really good at common sense and winging it.
And that's me.
Right. And so for me, as somebody who is super book smart, I can retain anything. Like in college, people always said I had a photographic memory because I could just shoot out information and like really great at test taking, but no common sense, you know? And so I think coming from that, I'm such an over preparer because the more prepared I am, the more relaxed I feel because I'm not as great as like figuring things out on the fly. Even though I've gotten better at it, I'm more of like everything is prepared and ready to go, where you're really great in the moment of like
adapting.
Yeah. So
But
it's interesting.
That's true, because I guess like we talked about this to where like I used to call out the teachers, my professors and stuff, because if they didn't go over it in class, I felt like that was unfair. And they're like, well, that was what you were supposed to read. And those were always the questions I missed, the one that you're supposed to read and take in. I'm like, well, how am I supposed to find those? And they're like, well, you're supposed to read the whole thing. And I'm like, well, that's silly. That's a waste of time. Like, I'm not going to utilize most of this. So just give me what I'm supposed to utilize and I'll test well, right? But so I guess with the trip, that's the thing. I don't read or prepare or do anything. I just run through it in my head as if I'm doing it. And then that way I can find the holes that I might miss.
Which is also, I feel like we're so opposite in that way. And we really come in together as a good blend because, you know, and even when we were talking to your mom, it's like people learn and are smart in different ways, right? And I love that you're so good on your feet and you have like such wits about you, and you can like on the fly, where I'm a little bit more rigid and have to have a moment to process and think through something before I can react. But I'm such an over preparer that I am like I have everything down to the nitty gritty detail that I feel that. And then you can come in and like when things happen as they do with traveling and you kind of have to think on your feet, that's a strength. So I feel like together it's a good team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think I wanted to ask, like, what does this trip in particular, like Oaxaca, like mean to you?
What does it mean to me? I think, well, I'm just really, really excited to be here because we were here a year ago. We did a research trip here in between hiking Salcantay. We did two hikes to Salcantay, and we hiked Salcantay, came to Oaxaca, did a research trip, went back and hiked again with a second group. So it's crazy to think that we were just here a year ago doing a research trip, fell in love with Oaxaca, and that we're actually a year later, we're back and we're running the dream trip that we were like, this is a place that I feel like people need to come.
It's perfect.
That a lot of people, it may not be on their bucket list, right? Oaxaca, Mexico may not be on a lot of people's bucket list, but it should be because it's such an incredible, incredible place that has so much to offer. So to be able to go from like vision of a trip to we're currently here about to run this trip with other travelers to show them a place they may have never came, and that this trip is going to blow their mind and they're going to walk away being like, dude, Oaxaca's freaking amazing. That is cool.
No,
I'm excited about that.
And we were talking about that yesterday, and I think it's just, yes, when we book trips, we wouldn't have Travsessed Adventures if people didn't come on them, right?
Yeah.
So like you want people to come on them, and you...
If nobody came, it would just be you and I traveling on our own.
Which is what we did last year, right? Like maybe a couple friends would join us, like whatever. But like, I also, you and I in the business world have never played by the rules, right? Like we've always created our own rules, which whatever, you can debate that however you want to, but like we feel comfortable with that. And my whole goal in traveling is to not just pick the luxurious, cool spots that everybody knows, knowing that everybody will want to go there. My goal is to broaden people's minds, open people's minds to feel protected and guided, that we got you covered, and going to places that people wouldn't think to go, right? But as we've seen, it's like, you know, it's like people are like, where's Oaxaca? Like, and that was a tougher kind of thing to be like, hey, come with us to Oaxaca. Like, take your time, spend your money, come here and trust us, right? And so it's really awesome that these travelers trusted us to do this. And this trip, running through it, talking to the people last night, the reason we came here, it just is kind of excited me even more, because nobody will be able to do this trip. We're getting the full spectrum of Oaxaca. This place is gorgeous. It's amazing. The people are amazing. The food. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I feel like it really covers like a Travsessed trip where it's food, it's fun, it's mezcal, it's outdoor adventure, it's hiking. We're hiking through a local village and spending the night like in someone's house, like in a cabin. And like, so we're getting really to dive into the local culture and the history. So we're having, you know, active outdoor adventure, which we love, but we're also like eating and we're drinking and it's fun and we're exploring. And I just feel like it encompasses everything. So super excited just to kick it off and get into the trip and move past this. I feel like every podcast we do, because we've done this like before Bali, like we've literally podcasted before every trip. And there's always this like, I feel like I probably say the same thing. I'm
you're
like,
pooping
I'm
your
nervous,
pants.
I'm pooping my pants. And I just want to get into it and be on the other side where we're like, dude, we're in it. It's freaking amazing. And I love to like get to that place.
Yeah.
I will say just kind of even getting here, you know, I was going to talk about the flight a little bit. Unless you wanted to, do you have anything else to say about the trip essentially?
No, not really.
No?
No, I mean, we always do our debrief after the trip,
Yeah.
which will be fun.
Okay.
So next week.
So we flew from Orlando to Mexico City, which was easy peasy.
3-hour
smooth,
flight.
Yeah, 3 hour smooth, just easy flight. We got upgraded to business.
Because of my status.
Woo, which you love to talk about. No, I'm here for it. Like I'm riding the coattails, which actually I'm not. It's our status. I don't know why you're the only one who gets it, but
I'm going to say that it's mine because I was always so diligent at putting in our Delta points into every flight. And we started flying Delta a lot more, and that just like increased. And then we had the Delta card for that reason.
Yeah. Okay. But
so I took charge on that.
Okay,
But
you
it is
took charge.
it is our status.
Status. And so we were in business, so it was just so comfortable. Like I had my computer out and Aaron's what is it called? iPad and like a mineral water, and I was spread out and so comfortable. It was just the two of us. I actually wrote out the entire email to we're launching our South America highlight trip.
Don't even get me started on that.
Which we're really, really excited about. And it covers 2 different countries.
4 different regions.
We're going to Santiago, Chilean Patagonia, Argentina, Patagonia, Buenos Aires. Like it is a fully packed, loaded trip. Like hiking the highlights of all the best hikes.
It screams Travsessed.
Yeah, it's wine, it's food, it's we're flying all over the place. Yeah, At first with this trip, I was like, whatever. Like if we do it, we do it because we have to have 10 people to do this trip. So I wrote out the email that explains the trip, explains all the things, but it's an expensive trip because it's fully loaded. We've packed so much in. It's 2 weeks. We're doing all the things. And we're like, we don't want to continue, planning this unless we have 10 people. So sent it out. And when we have 10 people, we'll greenlight the trip. And I was like, if we do it, we do it, whatever. But after like writing all of this out, going over it, because Aaron, like you planned so much of this, I was like, oh my God, this is the best trip ever. Like I want to do this trip. Like we have to do this trip. Now I'm like obsessed with the trip. If you're listening to this and you're interested and you want to know more about it and maybe you didn't see the email for whatever reason, definitely reach out to us. You can email us at hello@imtravsessed.com or DM us on Instagram at Kim and Aaron G, and I'll send you the details. But anyways, I wrote out the email and it was just an easy flight. And then we flew from Mexico City to Oaxaca, and which was funny because the Orlando to Mexico City, we were in like the 3rd or 4th row. And then on the next flight, we were the last row.
Yeah, very last row.
It was like 2 extremes.
But because we were also the first on the plane, which was kind of funny, and then we were the last off. I literally like rolled off. There was nobody else on the plane.
Not one person behind us, which is so funny. It was like 2 totally different like extremes. But that flight, like I knew getting on that flight it was going to be trouble. Like that plane looked like it's been through some shit. Like it was like patched up.
It looked like it had a couple bird strikes.
Amongst other things. Like it looked like it had been clawed. I'm like, I don't know. Like it was just a little bit of a sketchy plane.
I don't even remember that flight.
Okay, and so we haven't even taken off yet. Aaron is passed out, drooling, mouth wide open. I'm like, we just got on the plane 5 minutes ago. How do you do that? I'm so jealous, sitting straight up.
I was tired, dude.
So was I, but I couldn't sleep like that. So then we go to take off, and in the back of, when you're all the way in the back, and I kept reminding myself of that, you feel things so much more, and you feel more zigzag because you're all the way in the back, right? So even when we were taking off, which again, you were passed out, so I was like alone in my feels, we were zigzagging down the freaking runway. I'm like, we're done. Like, we're like,
you and your flights.
I'm like, get this off. We got to get off the ground. We got to get off the ground, because we kept going off the runway, on the I'm like, this is insane. So we finally get off.
I did feel like it took us forever to get in the air.
It took I
feel like they were
because we kept going off the runway.
I actually woke up a couple times because I'm like, I felt the engine thrust, but I feel like it's been 6 minutes before we've even like lifted off the ground. Like,
yeah.
Are we gonna get off? Or are we just riding? Like, are we just driving to Oaxaca?
Just really fast, just like hauling us.
Yeah.
It's because we kept going off the runway. It was insane. So we finally get up in the air. All is well. Like, it was a little bumpy, but which is funny because we always talk about this, but every time you get on a flight, like the one from Orlando to Mexico City, the captain comes on. He's like, we're taking off from the west, and I'm captain, blah, blah. And I'm, we're here to make this flight the best that we can for you. We might have a little bit of bumps, but mostly it'll be smooth. Like, they just explain everything, and you automatically feel so safe, and you are in the best hands, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny how that, like, your mind just naturally thinks that. Mm-hmm. And we've flown all over the world, and sometimes you have pilots that come on and you're like, okay, they got this, and other ones literally don't say a peep when like the plane's falling out of
Is there anybody even up there?
Right. And so I felt really great. This one didn't say a freaking peep, not a word.
No, the flight attendant did all the speaking.
Yeah. And then, anyways, it was like kind of bumpy. And then when you go, and again, Aaron, you're sleeping the whole time, so you didn't get this. But we were, like, when you're about to land, they put the landing gear on, and like the plane, it's loud, and like the plane shakes, and you're preparing and all things. That happened. It was so loud, and the whole plane was like shaking, and water started pouring from the roof, and we were not landing. There were clouds below us. Like, we were cruising altitude. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
I woke up during that time.
Yeah, because the plane was shaking so violently.
So they were, from pilot talk, they were shaving speed, and so they had the flaps all the way down, and so when the flaps move, it makes that kind of sound as if the landing gear, we're on such a smaller plane that you feel that. And then we were in the back, so you're feeling the engine like not thrusting, and it's like it was making noise, but it was like because it's shaving speed, so the flaps are causing air resistance to slow the plane down because we were coming in hot. And so they were shaving speed, and that's what you felt.
All right, babe. I'm glad you know exactly what was happening.
From my pilot game, I have to shave speed, so I have to put the flaps down because my speed is too high for approach.
Okay. All right. Well.
When I used to fly Stanford Children's Airlines.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, it was a little sketchy. I've never experienced that on a plane before, and I know when they put flaps down and stuff, but like this felt different. It like hit different. Okay. And I was like, something ain't right. But then there was a flight attendant like right behind us who was passed out sleeping. So I was like, I feel like everything's fine. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Who wasn't working, by the way?
Yeah, he was not working. He was just flying with them.
He was catching his flight in Oaxaca.
That would have been, imagine he had his headphones on, just like passed out.
He's probably done. He'd probably just done a whole leg
and was like
coming
home.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. So anyways, all is well. We landed. I will say too, coming into Oaxaca, one thing that I love, and I think a lot of people maybe don't think of when they think of Mexico, is like, it is so green. Mm-hmm. There's so many mountains. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I don't know, maybe people do think this, but I guess I think of Mexico as like the crystal blue water and the Caribbean and the beaches.
It's the tourist area.
Well, yeah, but like I think most people are tourists, and that's kind of where they go. But it's like,
well, the Cancun, the Tulum,
But like Oaxaca is like just green and lush and mountainous. But Oaxaca is a state, and so it also has the coast, which we're not going to go to. But Puerto Escondido is like the Pacific coast, so it has a beach too.
In Oaxaca?
Yeah.
Coast.
Puerto Escondido is the big, like, kind of popular coastal area of the state of Oaxaca.
How far away is that?
I don't know.
Not that far? A couple hours?
I don't know.
So good seafood, huh?
Okay, I'm not eating seafood here. My stomach has been messed up since St. Augustine. I don't know why.
Not eating seafood in Oaxaca.
Listen.
I'm like, it's a coastal state.
Right, but it's not known for seafood.
What was that language?
Oaxaca City is not known for seafood.
They just have.
Okay, Oaxaca City is not known.
That you know, okay.
I would not come here for seafood. Also, my stomach has been hurting, so I was like, I just want like a steak. Like the food here is delicious, but it can be heavy, and I'm not used to, and it's all like fresh, clean ingredients, but I'm not used to eating tortillas and cheese and shit every single day. My body's like, what are you doing? And so I was like, I just want like a steak with chimichurri or something.
There's so many Michelin Star restaurants in Oaxaca City, which is insane.
Yeah. So you were looking for a steakhouse, but then you found a seafood place, and I'm like, I'm not eating. The thought of seafood made me want to puke. And also, I just feel like if I'm here, like I'm not going to eat seafood, and that's just a personal choice. Okay. And I need you to respect it.
I do respect it. I just thought it was funny that your justification was, but it's actually just most likely as close. Like Santiago, we love the seafood there, and like.
Yeah, that's on the city, or that's actually on the ocean. Santiago's on the ocean.
Okay.
Anywho, speaking of Michelin Star restaurants, we went to one yesterday for lunch, did not realize it. Our friends who we went on the research trip last year, shout out Joe and Sarah, went there. It's called Tierra del Sol, and they're like, oh, this place was amazing. You have to go. They sent us pictures of the menu, and it was like broken down by the section and the grains and
in English,
and like they're like, it was fantastic. They explain everything to you. Amazing place, rooftop, somewhere we've wanted to go. We haven't.
We were going to take the group there.
Yeah. And so we went just yesterday for lunch on our own, and I don't know, even reading the reviews,
it felt like a parallel universe.
Well,
like we were in the wrong spot, but we weren't.
So going from our friend showing us the menus and explaining their experience, okay. Reading reviews that say they do tableside salsa, they, all like going into it, we had a completely different perception. Being there, nobody spoke any English, which nobody speaks English.
But let me back that up. What was real crazy was we walk in, the hostess and the host was there, and they were like, we have a present for you. Please sit down in our little like. I love that. It's totally translation.
I know.
But like it's free, right?
Yeah,
basically
it's a
what they're
treat.
stating.
Yeah.
And we sat down, and they basically are making handmade tortillas with the masa, the different colors of corn. They come over in English and explain it all and what we can get and all this kind of stuff. And so we're like, dude, this is our first, like this is a good start. Like you can start with a beer or water or mezcal, like whatever you want to start with. And then while they're getting your table prepared, that's what you're doing. And then they come and get you. So you get like a little appetizer to start, but you get to learn a little bit about like what they're cooking. And so we're like, dude, this is sick already. Like this is really cool.
Yep. Really strong start.
We get upstairs, no English menu.
Nope.
No waiter or waitress speaks English at all, which again, our fault.
Yeah.
Not theirs, but based off of our story and perception that we had going in.
We thought.
And I've also read their menu before, and it was in English. This felt like, wait.
Are we in the right place?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to like translate the menu with Google. Thank God for Google Translate. And like we thought that we had ordered salsa with like tostito, whatever, chips or
Papas fritas.
yeah, and like so we thought we had ordered that to start. I had ordered some sort of I wanted a bean thing. He said they didn't have it.
Well, what was funny is you pointed it out and said, "Is that soup?" And he's like, "Más o menos."
Yeah.
Like kind
to the bean thing.
Yeah. So then.
But he said they didn't have it. So then I ordered this vegetable thing.
But that was funny because you asked about the soup, and he could have said, "Oh, but we don't have that." But he like explained it, and then you ordered it, and he was like, "No,
we don't have it.
No más."
Yeah, and I was like, "Ooh, I'll take it." And he's like, "No tienes," and I'm like, "Okay." So then I got this vegetable thing. Come to find out, both were soup. So the thing we thought was chips and salsa was a soup with like a tortilla in it and like a block of cheese. And then mine was a vegetable soup, which, okay, but just was not expecting it. And it was just, and then I did Google Translate and asked if they had chips and salsa, and he was just like, no. And I'm like, where's the table side salsa? Like the reviews were like, they come and make the salsa table side, and they'll add the spice you want, and they'll make it.
Didn't the table in the corner get it?
And I swear to God, I saw.
They came over with a mortar and pestle.
Mortar and pedal.
Yeah.
Whatever. And chips, and I was like. But I asked him, I'm like, chips and salsa? And he said no. And I was like, okay.
I really think it's a translation thing. If we knew how to actually say what it's called there. But when you say chips and salsa, they don't know what that is. And so they just say no.
Yeah.
And even, I think English is really screwed up. Because like salsa picante is just hot sauce. But we think of salsa as like chunky salsa, but they don't call it that.
No.
And so when we ask for chips and salsa, they hear like what are chips to one, and salsa is sauce. So
everybody knows what that fucking means. Every restaurant
not
we've
if you
been
speak
to,
don't speak English.
Every restaurant that we've been to that like has like, because most places do not speak English in Oaxaca. Just like they don't cater to like English speaking people. That's fine. There's a little bit you can kind of get by. But we've said chips and salsa because everywhere makes the best homemade salsa and like homemade tortillas, and it's amazing. They've gotten
smoky.
it. Oh. They've gotten the freaking move. Like,
they get it.
They got the assignment. So we were just like, are we in an alternate universe? Like, is there another place? Because it was the complete opposite of what was explained to us.
I felt like we were getting punked.
Yeah, it was so bizarre. We were both so hungry. I'm like, had soup. Nobody would talk to us. Nobody wanted anything to do with us.
My turkey mole was good.
Yeah, that I did have a little bit of that, but dang, man, it was an interesting. And then we found out later it was a Michelin Star restaurant, which we didn't know. We just like rolled up. Like,
I mean, I get it. It had potential if the reviews were right and we had an English speaker like to at least explain it. But like Joe and Sarah said, their waiter or waitress came over, explained the concept, explained where the food comes from, explained how they should order in English. They don't speak Spanish.
Right. That's why like, I'm so confused.
In 1 year.
I don't know. Something happened, man. So, anywho, I think we'll leave it at that. We're going to go downstairs and wait for our first traveler to arrive. And next time you hear from us, we'll be on the other side of this dang trip.
Heading to Greece.
So excited. Oh, it will be Thursday. Wow. I think we're going to be hiking. We're going to be in the mountains when this actually comes out.
When this comes out, yeah.
Hell yeah.
The Sierra Norte Mountains.
Hell yeah. Follow along on our Instagram at Kim and Aaron G. Again, reach out if you have interest in the South America trip because it's going to be litty titty. I think it's going to be one of our best trips yet. It's right up there with New Zealand, with Bali. I mean, I love all of our trips, but this is going to be a good one.
This is going to be, this is like, yes.
We basically took our Patagonia trip and just took it to the next level of like everything. So
things that we had done before and after each of our trips there.
And combined.
Like, really loved every experience. And we're like, this has to be a trip here.
100%. Because also if you're going to that region, you'll probably only go once. And so we cover everything. So you'll never need to go back. No. Basically.
Unless you want to explore Buenos Aires on your own or Santiago on your own.
Yeah.
We cover.
You won't need to.
You won't need to.
All right. So we will see you next week over on the Instagrams and adios amigos.
Adios. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.